This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, all things Cleveland sports, with your host, John Suchan. Good day, good evening, good morning. This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. Welcome wherever you're listening from. We are glad that you've joined us here on the Johnny Cleveland Show. We are part of the Fanatical Elves Network. I'm your host, John Suchan. We're playing a little night driving music. If you can tell, it's a little nighttime here. You may not be listening to it at the nighttime. You may be listening to it first thing in the morning or in the afternoon when the sun is out. But we are happy to have you here and part of our podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, part of Fans First Sports Network, who are our sponsors here. We also want to thank all of the different groups that have supported our new podcasting platform, including Cleveland Sports Talk. I'm also a contributor to Dog Pound Daily, Northeast Sports Insiders, and a variety of other folks. So we have great contributors to our Fanatical Elves Network. We just recorded earlier this evening our Fanatical Elves show, and hopefully you got a chance to listen to that, or we'll be having an opportunity to listen to them later on. We have contributors like Steve Gill down in Nashville, Tennessee, Joel Cade, the left guard, and Elliot Cannell, both over in the Dayton area. They're big Browns fans, big supporters. They have their football, philosophy, and rocket science. Joel also does his What the Elf Was That show. And then we also have Rod Bloom, who does his show with his brother Jeff, the Browns Blitz. Awesome material. Tune in any day of the week. We usually have a new show posting, and as the season gets going, as we get into the season come September, and today is July 5th. If you're listening to this, it might be July 6th, 7th, or 8th when you're tuning in, but the Browns season is just around the corner. We will be providing excellent coverage. I will have some inside knowledge and inside scoop on the Browns games themselves, as I'm a contributor, like I said, to Northeast Sports Insiders, and we'll have some extra abilities that we'll be able to share with you in coming episodes of the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. I can't wait for that. So wherever you're listening, we just are happy that you're here. And there's not a lot of Browns news going on these days, and that's a good thing. We've all been talking about that on our podcast this week, that, you know, we're just coming out of the 4th of July. And, you know, it's good that our players are not making headlines, and they're staying out of the news. We've had opportunities there have been other times in Browns history that we can all share and reminisce about that have not been so quiet. There have been many players that have come and gone that have not been very quiet. And so that being the case as it is today is good. Deshaun Watson traveled around the world. If you follow Deshaun Watson on social media, you'll know that he's been pretty much everywhere in the world, from France to Italy to, I think, Africa, over to Australia. He's been pretty much everywhere. And we just want to, hopefully he'll stay healthy and stay safe. We're bringing this podcast to you a little early, too. We may be bringing another Johnny Cleveland special episode out in Seattle. If you recall, I've done some podcasting over the year. Well, this podcast started with the pandemic 3 years ago. And part of some of our shows early on were doing some episodes with my own kids, including my daughter, her boyfriend, Matt, out there in Seattle. And I'm headed that direction. Can't wait to see them here in a day or so. But we may have a special episode of the podcast, which is always exciting because Mariah Pariah, her nickname, Mo Money, always brings it. She's always in character and is a riot to listen to. So I would encourage you, if we do that show coming up in the next few days, tune into that. It will not disappoint. So she's the one who came up with the Joe Schmo for Joe Burrow. Joe Schmo. So I like to refer to Joe Burrow as Joe Schmo. Joe Burrow is a pretty good quarterback, so I got to give him some props. He's taken the Bengals to the Super Bowl already, while our Brownies sit home and hope that they get there one day. We all hope that the Browns get there one day. There's always next year, right? I wrote an article for Northeast Sports Insiders recently about the fact that the Browns have not won a divisional title in 34 years, 1989 to be exact. It's been a struggle, has it not? And the divisional race is going to be tough with the Bengals there and the Ravens, and the Steelers never go away. The Browns are going to have to play at their very finest this season to win a divisional title. Now, they can get to the playoffs without winning that division, but the Browns need to win a division. For God's sakes, man, it's been 34 years. Has anybody in Berea been expressing this opinion to the players and to the coaches that it's been that long? I hope somebody does, because it might make a difference. Have they tried that tactic? Have they tried the approach of, hey guys, it's been 34 years. You want to get it in gear? You know, maybe a little snarkiness and sarcasm might go a little bit a ways. And sometimes these players need a little bit of, fire to get going. I wrote an article that didn't go over very well with some folks this week for Cleveland Sports Talk about one Elijah Moore. Yeah. Yep. He was pictured in some photos at OBJ, Odell Beckham Jr., who once played for the Browns not too long ago, who's now an opponent for the Baltimore Ravens, posted on his Instagram where he, Zay Flowers, a rookie from Boston College, and Elijah Moore were all seen working out together. And I posed the question, where's the loyalty? Where's the team loyalty? And I got a lot of brushback, a lot of blowback from fans and Elijah Moore and the Browns who said, well, what's the big deal? They're just practicing. It's the off season. And to some degree, I totally get that. I totally respect that. On the other hand, we expect these players, and we talked about this in my other podcast with Steve Gill, during the season, if someone is running down the middle of the field and gets knocked down for the opponent, we don't want our Cleveland Brown player going over and giving him a hand up. We talk about sportsmanship, but when in the competition of the battle, that's their opponent. Well, that happens sometimes. We do see that. We see the opponent helping somebody else up. You go back, like Steve said, you start looking at film from, years ago, and us older fans know this. You go back 20 or 30 years, you'll see a lot of rougher play. I mean, the rules have changed in the NFL. They understand that they need to protect the players, and I understand that too. With all the head injuries and whatnot, it is a brutal, dangerous sport. But the idea of seeing this photo, and Elijah Moore maybe didn't know that he was going to be posing for a photo like that, but he was still in the photo. And these young kids, they just are enamored with social media and being out there. And that race to fame is a big deal. And so I feel like it's diluted. I feel like it's watered down the competitive nature of really all sport, from the NFL to NBA to Major League Baseball. That competitive sort of loathing that you get, or the competitive nature that you get from hating or loathing your opponent and driving you to be better than them, has it been completely eliminated now because players just don't have really what it takes. They all want to be friends. And I just wonder how much it's really watered down what we're actually seeing out there. Okay, with that, we're going to take a quick break. This is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. I'm your host, John Suchan. We'll be right back. Okay, we are back on the Johnny Cleveland Podcast, part of the Fanatical Elves Network, and Fans First Sports Network. Glad to have you along on this show today. If you're listening to us in the morning or in the evening or during your lunch break, we love it that you're tuning in to our network. We really need your support, and I cannot emphasize the need to, follow us, share this podcast with your friends on Apple, Spotify, and let them know what we're doing over here in this network. We're getting some great support. We're getting some great buy-in. We love that. We love you guys as fans. We have giveaways. We'll have another giveaway next week for our network, and we just can't thank you guys enough. So if you have a friend or family member, let them know about our podcast. Tell them where to go. You can find us in the Elves Network. If you type in Elves Network on Twitter, on Facebook, you can type in Fanatical Elves Network, ELFZ Network. It should pop up on Facebook. Twitter, it's Elves Network. TikTok, it's Elves Network. Instagram, it's Elves Network. Again, that's ELFZ Network. You can follow me on my Twitter handle. It's my name, John Suchan, JOHNSUCHAN. That's it, John Suchan. Follow me. We'll be posting lots of material. I also am a contributor to Dog Pound Daily, to Northeast Sports Insiders, and to Cleveland Sports Talk. So we appreciate you following along. We're going to be providing excellent coverage as we get into the season. I talked a little bit about that before the break, and I can't wait to share more information about how we're going to be doing that specifically. But we will be bringing you some excellent content, some live material, some instant reactions, things that you aren't going to find anywhere else. And we're going to have some access, and totally excited about this opportunity. And another reason why you should follow along our Elves Network, Fanatical Elves Network on Apple. Yes, follow us, subscribe. We love it. So there's not a lot of other news going on right now. We do know that the Browns play their first NFL preseason game on August 5th, which is actually a month basically from right now. And they'll be playing the New York Jets up there at the Football Hall of Fame up in Canton, Ohio. We're going to try to make it up there ourselves. Also have an opportunity to go with our Browns backers crew. The Browns backers, they do such a good job with the Cleveland Browns organization, where they are inviting Browns backer presidents across the country to come enjoy a dinner with Joe Thomas, who will be inducted to the Hall of Fame, get a tour of the Hall of Fame. It's well done by the Cleveland Browns. I've talked a lot about that in my last podcast. So, a little bit of other news just around Cleveland sports. If you do follow Cleveland sports outside of the Brownies, the Cavs had their draft pick. If you, I am also contributed to King James Gospel that followed the Cleveland Cavaliers, and they picked up Amani Bates in their draft. They're also going to be starting their summer league play July 7th. So that's Friday night. So tonight's Wednesday. We're recording this. They'll be playing on Friday evening at 8:30. If you want to follow along, they'll be on NBA TV. Some really good players. We've got, like I said, Amani Bates going to be playing there. That's Sam Merrill. Connor Porter is a kid that I have followed a little bit from Wichita, Kansas. He played for Wichita State. As many of you know, I lived in Wichita for 26 years. So this kid, you need to know his story. He's a great hard worker, and he's come a long way. And do not be surprised if this kid works his way onto the regular Cavs lineup. And so the Cavs, it's someone described the summer league games in Vegas as a professional AAU tournament. And if you have any experience coaching basketball or part of the AAU circuit, as coaches or even players, that it's about run and gun, get the ball up, shoot the ball a lot. There's not a lot of emphasis placed on defense, which they should be doing. But many of these coaches are not as experienced as school coaches. And let me tell you, that's been quite the interesting issue there, because as a school coach that I've done for many years, and then, watching these kids play the AAU circuit, the instruction is, getting the shots up and trying to be entertaining. And, you have a lot of coaches that are watching these events. So someone was describing the summer league in Vegas, like I said, as a professional AAU tournament. So many of these guys that are playing for the Cavs, there's 13 kids on this roster. Probably 7 or 8 of them aren't going to have any luck making this team. They may be put on another summer G League team. There will be a couple players that will split time for the Cavs that will play for the Cavs regular team, and then also the Cleveland Charge. They were in Canton, but they've moved up to Cleveland now, so they're going to be called the Cleveland Charge. I think they're going to play their games up at Cleveland State, so they're going to be the minor league group. But players like this Connor Porter and Amani Bates, and I believe the other brother, Isaiah Mobley, the brother of Evan Mobley, are all going to be getting they already have accepted their 2-way contracts, which means that they'll get to play both with the Cavs regular team and with the Cavs minor league club, the Charge. So we'll see how that all works out. I can't wait to see this Connor Porter, though. I'm excited to watch him play Friday night over there in Vegas, and tune into that on NBA TV at 8:30. I think they play the Brooklyn Nets. Okay, folks, hope you have a great whatever you're doing. It is after the 4th of July, and we're done with the fireworks, but now we have we get into the dog days of summer and the hot days, and hopefully get to the pool, stay outside, just enjoy the fresh air, enjoy the hot weather, enjoy that sunshine, and everybody have a great rest of your day. Take care. And this is the Johnny Cleveland Podcast. I'm your host, John Suchan. Thanks again for listening. And remember to keep smiling.